everyone. Thanks for downloading SpookBox, the horror movie podcast where three housemates think too much about scary films. My name's Connor, and I'm joined today by Heather.
Hello.
And Dav.
Hi, everyone.
Today we're going to be discussing the independent film Dark Encounter, written and directed by Carl Strathie and released straight to Amazon Prime in 2019. Before we get into an overview of the film, let's get some initial thoughts. Okay, Heather, what did you think of the film?
I really didn't like this film. Stronger than that, it annoyed me. It pissed me off. I'm such a horror fan. I'm so excited to be doing this podcast with you guys. But I have to say, this movie made me question my like of horror films, if this is classified as one. Okay. That's my initial thoughts.
Awesome, fantastic. And Dav?
So watching it twice, I think the second viewing I liked it even less than the first time that I watched it. I think that it has some interesting ideas I did still find interesting on the second viewing. But overall, it's over-egged, overly melodramatic, and kind of not a good watch, really.
Okay. So I think I sort of anticipated a semi-beatdown of the film when I knew that we were going to review this one and do it first. Well, it's not a review. Critique? I don't know. So I've done everything I can to prepare myself to, be as pro this film as I possibly can be.
Oh, you're going to try defend it?
As best as I possibly can. And I also think, I don't know, I think it's kind of unfair to go into this, expecting something bigger than what it could be. Although the director does seem to be kind of inviting that, because he keeps going for these high budget looking things, like space films.
I've also spotted at least 3 clear-cut references to other horror films. I want to see if you guys got them, and that is what pissed me off so much, was the aligning this work with those. I don't think it stands up.
But see, that to me seems like the bread and butter of any horror film, really.
True.
But you think that this film
but these ones were too on the nose to be artistic in their own right. You know, you can pay homage, but make a new work.
I think I've gone totally the other way. I think, Dav, you mentioned that the second time you watched it, it felt even worse. Heather, I think you were even more frustrated. I think I've now talked myself into believing that this film is actually an incredibly intellectual reflection on meditation, on the problem of toxic masculinity and how it isn't being discussed within the horror genre or something. I don't know. I've talked myself into believing that this film is amazing.
Well, let's get to that. I want to talk about the toxic masculinity, but first, do you want to do a rundown of the plot?
So let's do a recap of the film. So before I give a quick recap of the film, I want to give a few little warnings. Firstly, obviously, spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, we're going to discuss it completely in depth. We're going to talk about everything that happens in it. So if that's something that you care about, watch the movie first. And secondly, like most horror films, this movie focuses on something really, really horrible. In this case, it's the abduction of a child. So if that's something you don't want to listen to, maybe try one of the episodes that we do in the future if we keep making these episodes, which we should do.
We'll see about that.
So it's totally not our intention to make light of anything that's happened in the real world, any real world tragedy. And so I apologize in advance if we have caused any offense. But okay, let's get that out of the way and let's get on with the show. So, set in the small and presumably fictional town of Blue Hill County, USA, Dark Encounter centers around the disappearance of Maisie Anderson, a beloved 8-year-old girl who vanished without a trace on November 17th, 1982. After a brief introductory sequence in which we see some evocative shots of stars and forests intercut with Maisie's parents' reaction to her disappearance, the film's main action commences exactly 1 year later. The audience is introduced to Maisie's extended family and the grief that they live with as they return home from her 1-year memorial service. Through strained but polite conversation between sons Noah and Billy and extended family members Aunt Arlene and her husband Morgan, as well as from the quiet lawman Deputy Sheriff Kenneth Burrows, who's also called Uncle Kenny, which is weird because he's got a different last name, but okay, cool. Anyway, we learn that Maisie's parents, Ray and Olivia, played by Mel Rado and Breaking Bad's Laura Frazier, are having some marital difficulties, presumably due to the stress of losing their youngest child. Ray has taken to sleeping on the couch instead of with his wife and seems unable to behave in a normal way. Continually, We see the family strive for normality, watching TV, eating pizza, and doing the dishes together, but each of these attempts at normalcy are marred by Ray's inability to move past the trauma of losing his daughter. Although in the film he really just acts like a dick. Like, that's his way
He's
of processing
a horrible man. Is the Dark Encounter with him just watching that character?
There's
Because
something to that.
I don't know why he's so nasty.
Yeah.
He's a big meanie.
Eventually, Ray distances himself from the family by sitting outside. Here he sees what is presumably a low-flying airplane pass overhead, followed by strange lights in the distance. Ray presumes that the eerie glow is the local Matheson boys playing with flares and summons the manly men of the family to jump into a van and head to the woods, presumably to have like a massive fight with these children, but okay, anyway. The menfolk all go to the forest where the eerie lights and electrical interferences intensify and increase in frequency. After a particularly intense blast of light, Uncle Kenny is frozen in place and Morgan disappears entirely. Panicked, the menfolk all return home only for the strange lights and magnetic interferences to follow them. One by one, Ray, Arlene, and Kenny are seemingly made vanish by this unseen alien force, prompting Olivia, Billy, and Noah to flee to the nearest road. However, once there, realizing they aren't making any sense and presumably that they're experiencing some symptom of shared grief, the local sheriff escorts them back to the house. Then, things get kicked up a gear. Soon after returning home, Olivia is visited by an alien that was hiding in her closet. The glowing humanoid being takes her back in time to witness the truth about Maisie's past. That it was, in fact, Uncle Kenny who molested and murdered Maisie. Once this time travel abduction ends, Olivia sees the smiling face of a ghostly Maisie before the family are reunited with the evil Uncle Kenny in the present. Maisie's body is found, and a TV report reads that extraterrestrial intervention is confirmed, leaving the sheriff to declare, "We don't know. I'm guessing we'll never know." Olivia and Ray reunite, although presumably Ray is still a huge dick. Also, there's a dog called Genghis in this movie, and he was great. Okay, so starter questions. Let's get started. So we have some general opinions. Now that we've gone over the plot, maybe we should revisit those. So, you know, in light of the film, like in its details, like why is it annoying you guys as much as it did?
Well, I think I talked a little bit about how it's just over-egged, and I think a lot of it, over-egged is the right word because it really attempts to be a super dramatic movie. Like the performances, especially the Breaking Bad actress's character, what was her name? Her performance, especially when she realizes what's happened to her daughter, is just you don't want to laugh at someone's acting in those scenes, but it's hard to stifle it.
Laura
Also,
Fraser.
to go a little bit darker, we get quite a protracted view of Uncle Kenny's aftermath of, you know, killing his own niece, and it really lingers on that, and it's very melodramatic, and I'm wondering, why am I supposed to be viewing this horrible man in this way with the same melodramatic music that we saw over the mother character? Like, it was kind of uncomfortable.
Almost making you want to think that he's a tragic character
almost
right?
Encouraging that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That really upset me the first time I view it, but then the second time it was pure comedy in a sense, just how dramatic they were. The main thing that annoyed me watching it for a second time was the title itself. It's so dramatic because it's like a double entendre. Like, you think the Dark Encounter is with the aliens, it's actually the secret that the family has of the abuse that took place. If you're going to do that kind of title, don't, like...
And yet...
I don't need that.
And yet, the title is so anonymous that I couldn't remember the
couldn't
name of the
remember
film.
it.
After seeing it the full first time, when I was going back to look for it again, I just couldn't remember the name.
I kept calling it, like, Dark Skies, Dark
Dark
Water.
Skies, yeah.
I called it Dark Skies as well. Yeah, quite a lot. That's actually really interesting what you said. I noticed that too, Heather. And so basically, for anybody that hasn't seen the movie, that there's this part towards the end, like once you found out that Kenny is actually the molester, I don't know, abductor, I don't know, horrible
We don't
guy.
know what took place in the
villain.
room, but we know that it culminated in the girl's death.
Yeah.
So we can assume that it was an act of child abuse and murder.
Yeah,
That
so
is what I
once
think we're
we-
okay to assume.
Once we know that happens and the family like are back in the room and they see Kenny and they like meet him on the ground, there's this piece of acting. Oh, it's one of the final questions that I want to ask. Like, I'm not going to jump into it now, but basically Kenny's lying on the ground and Arlene puts her, like, leans down to him and he places a hand on her. And I know what you mean. It's like the film's almost saying like,
It's apologetic. Like, it lingers on his
It's so
apology.
strange.
It's so strange. But I do have an issue with your interpretation of the plot. You said that Arlene travels back in the past to view
No,
what happened.
Olivia.
Oh shit, Olivia. I had a real hard time getting characters' names and who they were married to correct.
The characters
But-
are all just given first names on IMDb. So
But
it's
I
like,
digress. Basically, you said she traveled back in time to
Olivia.
witness this act of horror. I disagree. From the like Space Odyssey shots, I think we can assume we draw back through our solar system, galaxy, and potentially universe to another universe in the multiverse. I think we're taken to another place in the multiverse. This is
Okay,
the claim
okay.
this movie makes.
No, hold on.
To witness this
I
act.
love that.
In which case, why does it happen the same way again?
I love that.
In another place
Obviously,
in the multiverse.
I love that. Like, you know what I like, so that's
The
something
alien took her to its universe.
A universe where the acting is quite bad.
I'm hugely into that, but I think it plays into something that I want to ask about later. So okay, so that's what we think of the film generally.
Just a wee point there.
No.
about that.
We are going to come back to multiverses. You better believe it. But I just wanted to get us like started.
Bread and
that's what
butter kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
That's, we think it's over-egged. We think that it's got maybe some problems with like trying to be sympathetic to characters that don't really deserve our sympathy. You mentioned Laura Fraser's acting again.
Yeah.
Watching it again last night. There's that moment at the dinner table when they're eating pizza, and it's like I
Not
think
today.
not today.
But the issue there is we only see the back of her head because they have
Yeah.
one roving camera in that scene
Yeah.
instead of reverse
Yeah.
shot for altercation.
And to me, this
it's
is the issue. This is like
weird.
what my heart is bleeding for Carl Strathie. Like, Carl, please let me into Hollywood Strathie, who is trying like so hard to make this a dramatic movie. And he must have said to Laura, like, just give it hell on that line.
But we
Or
don't see her face, and
or-
that's weird.
Laura, out of nowhere, just gave it not today. And Carl was left going, oh, I guess that's how she's going to deliver that line then. Okay, cool.
It's a pretty long scene.
Maybe
to be
it was
fair,
dubbed
so
in
we'll have to do the
after.
whole thing again.
Maybe she actually said something else like "shush," and then they were like, "Not quite strong enough," and dubbed it. We don't know.
Shush.
We only saw the back of her head.
Ah, jeez. Not today.
Not today.
Enough from you.
That's a question, actually. We started doing American accents and stuff. Okay, so predominant, apart from Laura Fraser, apart from the guy that was playing the son, Noah, I think.
The younger.
Billy's
Billy's the one with the jacket with the
yeah,
sort of,
yeah. So the younger
long
son. There are some US cast members, but there are more UK cast members, including Alice Lowe, who I think we all love, but I want to talk about later.
I think she's a charged actor because Garth Marenghi, like all of
Yeah.
these shows she's been in, where it's like set round about the early 80s and it's a comedic show.
Yeah.
Always a
Seeing
comedy
her
actor
in
as well,
this
usually.
movie, it cues you to pick apart and laugh at what they're doing.
We will not talk about her yet.
Okay.
We'll get that at the end. What I want to ask is, why do you think Carl... Come on, Carl. Why did you set this in the US instead of the UK?
And the fact that it was also... I read somewhere it was filmed in West Yorkshire.
Oh, that's so good!
Yeah.
I love
Just-
that.
Why couldn't this have been an
Absolute
alien movie about Yorkshire?
adoration for his references and a lack of originality. and I'm not saying he doesn't have that originality, but a lack of trust in his own originality.
Damn it, Carl.
Horror, I think, can be done well when you take something that you know so well from your environment and turn that into something. You really need to know the fabric of that society. I have an issue with how cold this film was because it was just a very a pale imitation of its references.
And I think back to your point about there being many horror film and alien film references in this film, the fact that it's based in America feels like another empty reference to me. The fact that most of these films come from the States or are based in the States. I can't help but think about Stranger Things because it's based in 1982.
Well, I actually picked up a direct reference to Stranger Things.
Go on then.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
So at the end of the film, after Olivia finds out what happened to Maisie, we get a shot of her turning on multicolored Christmas lights over her door, a la Joan in Stranger Things, the mother. And I'm going, is this so that the alien can communicate to her how Maisie's doing? I would say the last 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
We see the shot twice.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't get over it.
Okay, that also plays into something that we need to talk about later. Okay, so that's it. We got over the hump. Also, like, maybe Carl Strathie actually just is American and just happens to like have a UK based company or something.
I couldn't find much of anything about him.
The intro shot?
It should have been in Yorkshire. It would have been great.
Yeah.
But let's move on, okay? You are chomping at the bit to destroy this movie. So let's get into the big questions then, okay? Right.
Why does it lean so heavily on Twin Peaks?
I think we all lean on Twin Peaks in our everyday.
That doesn't seem like a strange thing to me.
Big
actually.
Just
questions.
rewatch Twin Peaks, though.
Why, guys? What do you think is achieved by having aliens intervene in a child molestation story? Like, I think that's the central question that anybody's going to be asking in this movie is like, okay, so this is a child abduction story. And honestly, when I went to watch it the second time, I was like, oh, wait, maybe it's like subtle. Maybe that we don't know if there's an alien in this and maybe it could all be in their heads. And then there's a giant glowing fucking alien in the film that you can't deny exists. Actually looks pretty cool because it's kind of like see-through. Mm-hmm. And so it absolutely is about an alien intervening in a child molestation story. What?
Well, not to mention the flying saucers as well.
There may be
glowing
flying
light.
saucers.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I have often thought to myself over the years, we live in such an unjust world.
Where is this going?
If only aliens could come down and solve all the crimes.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, right.
I've felt this way for years now. I get it, you know, if only there were aliens to solve the crimes.
And like, if anything else, so we're used to seeing these kinds of films where aliens are sort of benevolent presences, and usually they intervene in human activity because it doesn't really mean anything to them. We're almost like pet projects for them, right?
Right.
So is this something that we want as a society? Is this something that we admit is wrong with our legal system, that we need sort of impartial,
there's the link. I think that to throw the film some credit, it's trying to critique the legal system in America on a small scale. We have this corrupt sheriff. We see that the alien delivers this information to everyone in the town, actually, through visions. The female sheriff, we don't get her name, has also seen the exact event take place that everyone else has been delivered. So without having to travel to this other dimension, everyone in the town actually gets a download of what happened. So the alien is just kind of executing the justice that needs to take place, even to the figures of justice in the town that aren't corrupt. I think that it's a massive leap to go from, wow, I wish the justice system was better, to aliens. So I don't know why that decision was made. I can only say that it's to instill social commentary in a horror film, which is a great thing to do. I think it's what horror does. But unfortunately, it's kind of a ridiculous
It's out there.
embodying of
Yeah, okay, maybe let's
of
not
that.
go. Let's maybe not say it's ridiculous straight away. But let's try our best to give it as much credit as we possibly can. Dav, you said something that I wasn't expecting you to say. You said that we're familiar with seeing this kind of benevolent alien presence play out. And when you said it in such a tone of voice that I was like, oh, yeah, yeah. And now I've thought about it. Wait, what?
I think I said benevolent, but I think I meant to say ambivalent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Again, your tone of voice is so convincing that I keep wanting to agree. No, it's not. Wait, what the hell are you talking about? What movies?
Ambivalent. I mean, I think usually we're used to seeing these films. I think we watched was it Color Out of Space recently?
Yeah, but in
Right?
that they wanted to like, well, not they. The
No,
aliens.
that's the thing. They didn't want to destroy them. It was just part of sort of
Right.
inconsequential, right?
Yes,
And ambivalence, I think.
I think this film absolutely deserves or demands to be compared to things like Color Out of Space.
But what excites me so much about Color Out of Space is the fact that there's comprehensible elements about the alien, but the majority of its characterization is it escapes us. We don't quite know what it is, really. We know that it affects our world on certain spectrums, ultraviolet, radiation, but it's not the whole picture of what the alien is. But to be given like a kind of humanoid glowing figure that through telepathy shows you acts in your past that have escaped you, that's not something that I viscerally react to, because I think that what gets us about aliens is what's kind of escapable about them to us, the parts that we can't perceive, and the idea that there is something more evolved than us. If it was more evolved, we wouldn't fully grasp it. But this was an alien that everyone could grasp. Every person in the town.
So you brought up like so much interesting stuff there. I mean, so the first thing is we started talking about a movie called Color Out of Space. I think sometimes it's called A Color Out of Space or The Color Out of Space, but it's a H.P. Lovecraft short story, essentially about an alien presence visiting, a sort of small American East Coast town, Lovecraft. And it leaves behind this color that previously wasn't visible to the human eye, which is like dumb, but it's also kind of cool. Recently, there's been a film adaptation of it starring Nicolas Cage, and it was amazing.
Now I'm thinking that if they just cast Nicolas Cage in Dark Encounter as the father, we would have had an amazing film.
Whoa,
The greatest actor of our time.
He could have played that angry dad and given so much to that role. I only wish he'd been free.
But then you also touched on this idea of, which is kind of like Color Out of Space, of basically not understanding alien presences. And that sums up Carl Sagan's contribution to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which we've already kind of mentioned. There are some scenes in this movie that are very evocative of Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey. But essentially, when that film was being created between Arthur C. Clarke and Stanley Kubrick, they couldn't really decide on how they were going to depict alien life. They didn't know, how many limbs it would have, what would it look like, etc., etc. And so they reached out to Carl Sagan, cosmic biologist, who suggested
Cosmic Daddy.
who suggested that if there was going to be an alien presence that was capable of interstellar travel, that it would be completely unknowable to us. And so Kubrick made the decision to make the depiction of the alien like incredibly ambiguous, make its presence very ambiguous. Arthur C. Clarke then went on to write a bunch of novels that like entirely explain everything about the alien and like destroy any of the romance behind it, but that's sort of beside the point. But all of those things work towards a larger concept, and it's a concept that you've kind of been tiptoeing around, Dav. The idea of cosmic nihilism. The idea that we live in this universe that is so expansive that our religious, spiritual preconceptions about our importance in the universe are ultimately meaningless because the universe is indifferent to our presence. Yeah. And what we're seeing in this movie, we're seeing an alien that presumably was just like doing its alien thing. It's like it was on a walk and it was walking its space dog, and then it was like, wait, somebody's molesting an 8-year-old girl
in another universe.
I have to do something about this, and came down and is like, hey, I can't speak English, so I'm gonna just like intervene in any way I can.
See, my reading of the situation was that, and maybe this is out there, but in the world of the film, when people die, they are this particular Maisie, the girl who died and was sort of buried in the forest by the deputy sheriff, was taken by the aliens. She shared with them her plight, the way she died under sort of mysterious circumstances, and the aliens, out of the goodness of their own hearts, went, "We'll help you out with that. We'll tell the family." That's one reading.
Oh shit!
We need
an air
situation.
horn. We need an air horn sound so badly. Like,
Hairbrained theories.
No,
horn.
this is where shit is going to get really real. Okay, so basically, to anybody who hasn't seen the movie, yes, it is entirely unambiguous when Olivia, the mother, comes back from her Bhagavad Gita style, I am become death, I have seen infinity,
a oneness with the universe.
I have achieved oneness with the universe and seen that Kenny's a bad dude. She then sees the smiling face of Ghost Maisie that like disappears into the ether. Okay, so here's the big question. Does Carl Strathie believe in ancient aliens?
Well, that would explain things. I have a problem with it. I think that in 2020, or this film was released last year, if you do cosmic horror and it isn't cosmic nihilist, then it has to be comedic. I don't know how you could make a film that posits that we're, in some way the center of the universe.
Oh, yeah.
At this point in history. And I actually find it uncomfortable that there isn't any cosmic nihilism in the film. I actually think it's damaging to human beings to see a work that reveres them in such a way, that puts them on such a level of importance in the universe. That worries me.
Yeah, when a bat and a pangolin have had so much impact on human history, it's kind of
who's
weird.
Sitting here right now thinking, God, I really hope that alien will come down and show us exactly what happened with the pangolin. Then we'll have closure. Like it's not a thought that offers people comfort. I don't think. It's so improbable, and it's
the detrimental thing would be that it would offer some comfort where perhaps there isn't any, or there ought not to be any.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't offer comfort to me because I'm woke.
Well, I mean, okay, so that's the thing. So we're sitting here as three, at the very least, three heavily agnostic people, if not dyed-in-the-wool, hardline atheists. I don't know, I'm not going to speak for either of you, but, taking that kind of stance and pretending that Abrahamic religions, that, or ideas of extraterrestrial intervention aren't part of human culture is kind of ignoring thousands of years of history. So, so we're saying that this film is definitely not a post-human film. Okay, so this is a human exceptionalist movie about how extraterrestrials are going to care about our problems and are going to try and intercede in our problems. And okay, yes, I love post-human philosophy. So to me, yes, it's very problematic. But are we saying that there's no place in the world for these kinds of stories? Is there no place in the world for something that's going to let us know that, or that's going to try and suggest that there's something greater out there, that there's something that makes meaning in the world?
A lot of people are that I identify with, this is my own echo chamber, are encouraged by the Carl Sagan quotation about we're a speck of dust. We're a blue dot.
We are all stardust.
We're all stardust. And that's my philosophy that I ascribe to, and that empowers me. But a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, this movie says that a bad human act isn't only bad, it's cosmically terrible. And, you know, that's quite a heavy sentence to put on our actions. You know, not only is it bad with our interactions with our own planet, it's bad in terms of multiple universes.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can always say, shit, that was really bad, I fucked up, but, you know, the star's gonna explode and we'll move on. But it's hard to...
In this movie, they're saying, no, we're not going to move on. Mistakes
have a lasting impact across universes.
Right.
So what would we call that if it's not cosmic nihilism? It's
Christianity.
Yeah, I suppose so. But that leads into another problem that I had with the film. Or maybe not a problem, but something interesting about it was that it's an alien movie, but it could just have easily been a haunted house movie or a ghost movie or almost a murder mystery movie, a supernatural murder mystery movie, because it has all the hallmarks of a ghost movie, right? Unfinished business, ghosts returning, having a sort of mysterious death and ghosts returning to kind of show the living exactly what happened to them so that they might act in the future. And I think the alien aspect sort of complicates that. We're talking about things like cosmic nihilism, but this could have been a film that didn't have any of that in there. It could have been a film that feeds on these kinds of ideas of related to the sort of Me Too movement and what would we do if a presence was here that could show us exactly what happened in these sort of horrific cases, right?
Is it intended as a revenge film? Can it be called a revenge film?
Kind of, yeah. I think so. And I think the fact that we have the whole sequence where Olivia is sort of sent across the universe inside her own head. Well, in fact, it's implied that all the characters are, because some of them have the bleeding nose. Some of the other characters have the bleeding nose later on in the sort of same scene where everyone returns to the house. Yeah. That sort of cosmic aspect complicates that. Like, suddenly we're talking about in relativist terms. It's like, as a bad act, is an evil act on the earth universally evil? But it's like, we don't need to ask that question because we're talking about evil acts within this world.
It's hard to make it an isolated story because then we wonder, world over, where these horrible acts take place, you know, with what frequency does this experience happen? Is it just Maisie that this kind of justice is afforded to? And what scale does this take place on? You know, do you have to murder someone for them to get this kind of alien tribute? Or is a mere sexual assault able to be revealed through this medium of alien telepathy?
Yeah, I think that's the central issue that you can't get away from. So I think we tried really hard to give the film credit. I think what you're saying, Daft, it makes total sense. If they had just taken the alien stuff out, to an extent, it would have made the film more universal. But if a certain viewer is watching this film, a certain viewer who has certain held beliefs about external intervention, about supernatural intervention into ethical issues, this could be a really powerful film for them. Okay, that's what you might think. Yeah. But then, Heather, your point is absolutely where the film falls apart. Why isn't this alien getting involved in every crime? You know what I mean?
What we have to look at is the fact that this is a middle-class, white, rural American family who are privy to this kind of justice.
Yeah.
I did. And we have to say, is this experience taking place elsewhere? You know, if you put it to the scale of our universe, then those questions are then in the arena. You know, they're on the table.
Yeah, I agree.
Why would this just happen for this family?
Okay,
is it happening elsewhere?
You know,
it's
obviously
too big a story.
Like, you know, Dave Chappelle is kind of, you know, low-key cancelled right now, but like, I would love to hear what Dave Chappelle has to say about this. Like, yeah, of course that's the family that the super alien would visit. The alien would be kind of a dick if this is the only this is the only family they intervened in. I think the main thing for me is that it's set in 1982. I think that's kind of a good decision. I think they actually should have set it in like 1932. It feels like an old-fashioned sci-fi story from the 20s. It feels more in keeping with Lovecraft, where, you know, there shouldn't have been a TV. There shouldn't have been this sense of globality in the movie, because then you're inclined to ask questions like, you know, how many interventions does this alien actually do? Instead, I think they could have told an alien story, but they needed to find a way to limit scope to stop us asking these questions.
Yeah, if you think about a film like The Others, where the story is only within that house,
yes,
and the grounds, I think
scope
that
was too big. Yeah,
this story had too much of a society.
So I need us to move on. I need us to move past this. But before we move past this, I just need to confirm, Dav, you brought it up, in the world of this movie. In the world of this movie, is there an afterlife, and is it space?
Apparently.
and not only that, it's space, but it's pretty great because Maisie was happy. So
she was loving it.
She loves space afterlife.
Space justice afterlife.
Oh my god, is this movie trying to say, like, don't worry, Christians, you can still have your afterlife?
That's exactly what I think.
Space afterlife.
Yes,
and it's aliens.
Like, you don't need to be cringed.
And it's aliens.
You don't need to be cringed anymore.
It's
that you're the only
Von Daniken.
Christian in your group. Like,
it's Chariots of the Gods.
Space
it's
afterlife.
Spaceships of Ezekiel. But it just seemed really weird to me that the alien was in her closet. I don't know. That just seems so strange.
wait a minute. Was it actually like an angel, like an archangel vibe? Because it fits in with that, where it's like her guardian angel.
Yeah.
They talk about how, like,
Absolutely, I think you could read
the,
it that way.
the deputy sheriff, who, that character, while the decisions around him worry me, he only came into the film at the halfway point, but he's the person who kind of solidifies our beliefs about what took place at the end of the film. That's weird. Like, we get...
Oh, wait a minute. The deputy sheriff is Uncle Kenny.
No. So the head sheriff then?
Yeah.
I thought
Why don't you think he was the head sheriff?
Because
Heather?
we meet Uncle Kenny first.
Heather's cancelled.
I'm shaking my head.
Well, you know...
Watch the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, you'll get it, and you'll get that Heather is going to get cancelled pretty much every week. Okay. So we've established that there's basically a Chariots of the Gods, Spaceships of Ezekiel kind of connection in this movie, which I think there totally is. But Heather, you had mentioned that you actually don't think that we're trekking through space to get to, like, space heaven, which is a really good episode of the original series of Star Trek, by the way. But you actually think that there's a multiverse thing going on here.
Yeah. Well, we draw out of our whole solar system, galaxy.
Yeah, there's definitely
universe.
Distance. Yeah.
We're moving backwards, but I don't think it's to a sort of heaven place, because we're moving to a place where we have a replica of the house. You know, in terms of just what we perceive on screen, it looks to me like, a kind of imitation of what was taking place, but
A reenactment.
also a reenactment, or potentially just enactment of it
All I would say
happening elsewhere.
So I'm going to go out on a huge limb here. I'm going to guess that Carl Strathie actually just went on to, one of those, like, building block websites where you get, like, chunks of stock footage, and was like, how the fuck am I going to show time travel? And just got a bunch of space stuff and put it together, and, like, paid £20 a month for, like, the first month, and then cancelled.
Yeah,
that definitely
got the free 7 days.
Got the free 7 days, cancelled it, put it in his movie.
But usually with time travel, people do, like, a zooming in effect, like
a
minimizing
exactly,
as opposed to a maximizing.
Gonna,
like, if you think about, like, Ant-Man or something,
I
like,
know,
you go to a smaller level.
But I'm going to give him the hugest amount of credit. I'm going to throw Carl the biggest bone here and say, don't worry, Carl, I get it. I know what you're trying to say. And basically, there's this old understanding that really comes from Einstein about traveling faster than the speed of light. Because to exit any kind of solar system, to be able to travel with enough force that you're able to break free of the gravitational pull of a sun, you would need to travel faster than light. You would need to lose materiality. It's impossible to break free of a solar system, basically. So one of these old theories dictated that essentially if you were able to travel faster than the speed of light, you would end up going somewhere before you left. AKA you would be capable of time travel. And they've actually seen this sometimes in CERN when they fire subatomic particles, that the computer readouts of the time of deportation ends up being before it could have possibly been, but it is just a computer error in that case. And so, in modern quantum physics, they've seen that really shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have this time travel effect because time travel is impossible. But I think that's probably what they were going for. I think you're right, Heather, in your reading of those images that they are traveling, but the idea is that they're traveling so fast that they end up doing like a Superman.
Yeah.
They fly around the world fast enough that they go backwards. I don't know. I'm saying, Carl, I get it.
You did the best with
you did the
what
best
you
you
had.
could with Storyblocks. Who maybe in future Storyblocks will sponsor us with all these shout outs that we're getting.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, sponsor us. Okay, got another couple of questions. So let's shift away from ancient aliens and meta universes and stuff, and let's get back to the character. Let's get back
we're
to
never
what
going to get to
really
the bottom
matters.
of aliens
the
today,
characters.
The
unfortunately.
characters.
Can we talk about the angry characters, or maybe
Let's
we
talk
should
about
just
Ray.
start with
Angry
who's
Ray.
married to who? Because Alice Lowe's
I don't think
character,
we're ever going to unpick that
it
mess.
took me about half an hour to figure out who her husband was, and it was
It's
at the
Morgan.
point where the other uncle was saying that his wife died. I was like, okay, so that is how I figured out who Alice Lowe was married to. When they're washing dishes at the sink, and he's
I
like,
remember.
I know, grief, my wife died. I was like, cool, so she's not married to him then, because she's alive. And I think that any film where you have to work out who's related to who by a process of elimination, literally who's dead.
No,
that's
Arlene's
hard.
not married to Kenny, is she?
Yeah, dog. That's why
What?
that's why at the end he reaches for her hand to be like, I'm so sorry.
See, this was a detail. I think you're right, Heather. Although it's very confusing, I think you are right.
They're
But
married.
first viewing, I did not pick up on that.
I thought that it was a second marriage thing because I also thought that because of the different last name thing, so Maisie is called Maisie Anderson, but Kenny is called Kenny
Burroughs, was it?
Burroughs.
Yeah.
So I figured,
So he's an uncle
but he must be an uncle through.
on the mother's side. No. So he's the mother's brother, and the mother
I did not
has
get that.
taken on her new husband's surname.
But Arlene, see,
And
I thought Arlene
Arlene-
was Olivia's sister, but she's only a
Shit.
sister-in-law.
Oh no, but they talk about their childhood together. So Arlene is her sister.
Carl, man.
You know, my point here is
Oh, but that
like,
would make sense why Kenny has a different surname.
Next
then.
movie, dude.
they're all related.
Give your characters
fine.
last names. Yeah, is
No,
that,
but the
is that a
main,
comment on
mysterious
small-town
way.
America?
this is a very simple point, but when we see the dinner table, which I think comes after when they initially all come home after the funeral, sit on the sofa.
Yeah.
Arlene is sitting next to the other uncle, Morgan, which is why I think they're married. The
Yes.
first time we see them, they're together. Kenny is sitting elsewhere. But then at the dinner table, she's sitting next to Kenny, and ultimately we find out that Morgan's wife is dead. But I think that those first impressions are so important. We have a framing shot of Arlene sitting with Morgan.
Yeah.
First time we see them, we're going to assume they're married.
Yeah, cinematic
it's
language.
a big fuck up for me because I had to then puzzle out just who everyone was.
Get it together, Carl. Go back to
know?
film school. No, we love you, Carl, and Solace.
We wish you the best.
Yeah, Solace apparently is very good as well.
Had
so-
the guy
It's
from
kinda
GTA
like
5 in
he
it.
had so many good ingredients, but he couldn't get the cake to rise, you know?
He'll get
and
it
I've
next
been there.
time.
I can't bake.
Apparently he's
like-
making a new film this year. So okay. But
luck with that.
let's talk about the elephant in the room. So Ray's character undergoes no growth in the movie that I could see. but I think we're still expected to be happy for the couple reuniting at the end of the movie.
In bed, that scene when they're in bed. At the
Yeah.
end. Yeah.
So again, anybody who hasn't seen the film's real final sequence is Ray getting back into bed with his wife after previously having started sleeping on the sofa, I guess because he was just really upset or something. So he gets back in bed and there's this like beautiful, well, I think it's beautiful when it starts, but then there's just like this orchestral operatic music that goes on for
orchestral operatic music. You might as well be talking about the whole damn thing.
It's like 45 minutes of the same like garage band presets.
Bear it. Yeah.
No, the music was really, really good. It's just that it wasn't really.
It was badly placed. I think.
Badly placed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it was
yeah.
it was ill placed.
Sounds really nice.
Yeah,
Lots of nice
absolutely.
cues in it and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of the opera stuff is just like too over the top for me. I don't know.
Well, you know what? It has a kind of like intensity to it that you feel encouraged to read into. And when that played on the final scene, and I think the final shot is of the camera panning to the family photograph, which has been reframed and put on the bedside table.
Yes.
The
Where
one
it was
that got smashed previously.
in the hallway.
And the older son isn't in that photo.
Yeah, what's going on?
Has the alien taken him now? Why isn't he in that photo?
And why does the older
And
son
he
talk like
seems
he's
to
in
be-
Buffy?
Well, whenever he gets to talk,
Last time you had a civil conversation, you ended up locked up for the night, right, Dad?
it's full of
he's
quips, that one.
sassy. I like him. But that sassy
I
mouth
called
has
him
got
Ray.
him into trouble because basically his dad is really abusive to him. And the fact that he's missing from the photo at the end, rather than me be like happy for this couple reuniting, I'm like, God, what has the dad done?
At the risk of coming back to the issue of who's related to who, I think Billy is Ray's nephew.
Dun,
he-
dun, dun. That's the real
That's
shot.
the real-
That's
that's
the
the
real
real
dark
reveal.
encounter.
Wait, he's not even in the family.
No, he's not.
He's
no.
actually.
I don't think he is.
Yeah,
What?
he's a cousin.
Yeah, he's a cousin. Yeah.
Okay. Just
Morgan's
a
That's
quick,
why he
dad?
calls Ray. Yeah, I think
Morgan's
Morgan's
dad?
his dad.
Yeah.
quick check in with you guys.
Yeah.
Don't you love it when your uncle tells you to sit back and shut up? I love those happy memories with my uncle. Why is Ray so aggressive
Ray is
to
a
his nephew?
huge asswipe.
It's almost
Yeah.
worse that he's speaking to his nephew that way than his own son. At least if it was his own son, like we can somewhat interpret that as an angry, potentially drunken father. But why would an uncle be so aggressive to his nephew? That's even more chilling.
So this is like my whole question that I have here is basically about like fathers and men. Okay, so Barbara Creed is this really well-known film theorist that writes about horror cinema. Barbara Creed wrote a seminal article about Alien, where they talked about Julia Kristeva's concept of abjection and like the abject horror, and basically it's like what Creed pinpoints is that in things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and Alien, what we're really being told to be afraid of is this like inversion or corruption of the moment of birth.
I can relate.
And it's something that like I think Freud said that we were afraid of, and then Lacan said that we were like super scared of, that we never really get over like the pain of being born into the world. But I think this is a film that is like doesn't focus on birth, but instead focuses on, you know, a very like masculinist idea of life, of like planting your feet in the ground and having a stance. And I really get this from the alien figure. To me, seems very paternal, you know, because
Right.
it's
Oh my god, it's like a new daddy.
it's
like,
Space Daddy.
It's
Space
Space
Daddy.
Daddy.
Like Carl Sagan. Oh my god,
Wow.
it's Space Daddy.
No, Carl would never though. He wouldn't get involved in our petty human
The alien
problems.
is Carl Sagan. That's really the that's the twist.
That's the twist.
No, sorry. Okay, let's get back on track. So, okay,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to ask basically is like, are we being told to root for the nuclear family, basically? Like, or is it like assumed that we are pro-nuclear family? Because
I see that because I think that from the get-go we're told that this family is defending themselves against outside forces. Initially, it's the idea that there's these neighboring sons setting off lights nearby that the dad has to take a gun and go protect against.
The Matheson boys.
Yeah,
the
they're Matheson
patriarchal
boys.
power to protect his family is one of the initial themes we get.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the film says that he failed when it came to his own daughter. So is it about the father-daughter relationship falling apart?
It is.
You know, there is something in there. It's definitely there.
But why is it? Oh my god! I just thought of the best queer reading of this movie.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
do
Should we
it.
get into that, or should we stick
Nice.
to the...
Well, we can read
no, it's
the
my
we
week.
can read the anger issues in the
my
film, but
week.
through
It's
a
my
queer
week,
reading.
so I'm gonna queer read this movie like right off the top of my head.
Do it.
So, okay, so Ray has all of this like pent up sexual tension because he was unable to protect his daughter. He's unable to like in that like monkey way like keep all of the females in his nest,
Sure.
right? So another monkey he sensed has like stolen one of his females. So that actually like legitimately happens with gorillas and stuff. Okay, so he's all pissed off about that, right? And he wants to try and like keep reasserting his masculinity like harder and harder to try and overcome this. But then what happens is Space Daddy comes, and Space Daddy shows that he's way more of a man than Ray could ever be. So he he steals Ray away, and we don't know what happens, but we know that in a lot of alien investigations, people get probed. Mm-hmm. So basically, he takes Ray away,
Pegs him.
pegs the living daylights out of him, establishes to Ray that, you know, no one's that straight. It's cool.
Space Daddy's a lot taller as well, and if
Oh,
we just look
man.
at like how male dominance is conveyed,
doms
like
him.
he doms the dad.
Yeah.
Ray comes back feeling like a huge weight lifted off his chest because he's no longer so cis, and he can just like relax.
He can just chill out. He
can
doesn't have to
be-
protect his
he can,
family.
like,
Space
be-
Daddy's gonna do it.
You can be
Yeah.
sub. Yeah, it's fine.
Because does he
Whoa.
spoon Olivia at the end, or does Olivia spoon him? Because I think Olivia.
No, no,
might-
no,
I-
no, no,
I
no,
think
no.
he-
They're facing each other. Then Olivia turns and lets herself be spooned by him.
Okay.
So Ray's dominance has been reinstated because he's comfortable now
Yes.
with the mistake he made. Space Daddy's taking care of that
Oh, yeah.
part. He can still be dominant in his family, but it's not in the same way. He's no longer like the head male.
Excellent. That's the real reading. You heard it here first. That's the true interpretation of this film.
Decoded.
Queer readings always win. Okay, I've got one final question before I get to like dumb questions, which we're probably just going to be able to talk about forever, and I probably only should have asked the dumb questions. But okay, here's something that really bugged me about this movie. It has a twist ending for no reason, right? We kind of already talked about this. And is this the death knell
Of a twist ending.
of twist endings? Is it time to just take twist endings out and old yeller twist endings? Like, when was the last time a twist was done good? Do you feel good about twists? All I know...
I think that we live in an information age now, obviously. And so the idea of like there being this hidden information isn't satisfying. Like
Yeah.
you can pretty much find anything out now. So like why would we be like startled and exhilarated by the idea like, oh, but there's another piece of the puzzle? I mean, everybody is kind of making their own puzzle now. They're making their own decisions with the information that they have.
We're prosumers.
You know, we're not going to relate to this hidden authority and this hidden piece of information anymore. We're kind of making up our own view of the picture.
See, I'm not convinced that the film does have a twist ending.
Oh.
I don't think it necessarily does, because
Air
and maybe this is speaking to sort of some failings of the film, but I think on second viewing, I think that we as viewers are supposed to, in some way, it's a murder mystery, basically. We as viewers are supposed to work out who did it.
I agree. There's a lot of shots where they serve
there's
it
sort of
to you.
little cues in dialogue. Like I was watching it back, and you know, the deputy sheriff, you say his name is Kenny.
Yeah.
Morgan?
Ray? Was it?
No, it's Kenny.
Kenny.
Noah.
There's an encounter with him and Olivia in the landing of their house where he apologizes for failing.
Yes.
And we're supposed to read that as him having failed to find Maisie. But
Well, that's what he says. I
Yeah.
searched everywhere. I couldn't find her.
Absolutely. But I think there are certain clues in the film that they're intended as clues, I think, to the end that we're supposed to figure out who did it.
That's not only present in the script, because once the aliens start to surround the house and the males are in the basement about to head up the stairs to see what's going on, Ray does, we actually get a shot where Uncle Kenny's face is framed in a motorcycle mirror. So in a circular mirror, we just get his head for a second. So it literally, with a clue magnifying frame, says, here's your guy. So I think they do want us to somewhat speculate that it's came from within the house.
Yeah.
And this is actually why I, on second viewing, interpreted some of the framing decisions in a fader light, because initially the shots that we get from within the hallway of the house looking out the front door, we only ever see people enter, is a very like claustrophobic shot where we're almost like huddled in a cupboard looking at everyone come into the house.
Or also, I think that we get sort of strange details as well. Like we get slow shots of the landing of where the front door is, as if the film is asking us to sort of pay attention to the things that we're seeing.
To the front door, to the doorway, to the hall. This is where, you know, all of it took place. So I think that that's also trying to serve as a clue that like the dark encounter happened in the home, not outside the home. We never look into the house, we're always looking out from the house.
So Space Daddy is actually Space Poirot?
Space Poirot, yeah.
Yeah,
Space
he
Miss
loves
Marple.
a murder mystery. He's he smelled one a universe away and he said, I gotta get involved.
Scoob and the gang.
Yeah.
Wow, you just did like the best essay answer, which is like, I'm going to answer your question by telling you that your question was wrong.
I have a problem with the question.
That's excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know, but just then on a general kind of note though, anyway, because I don't want to feel like my question was totally lost. I just feel bad for my question. How do we feel about twist ending? Are we still amenable to twist endings?
I'm kind of a sucker for a twist ending.
Oh, good. Okay,
I'm a little bit of a sucker for a twist ending. I like Shyamalan. Like I enjoy those movies immensely. I enjoy the like Shyamalan. I like the sort of eureka moment, the shock moment. Oh no, it was him.
Okay.
I need a twist
I enjoy
to undo everything that came before in a existential way, and I don't think this twist did that. I think it said.
Okay, no, actually, yeah, you're right, Heather. This is not a twist, so you're right, Daff, as well. This is my fault. This isn't a twist. This is an interjection. This is literally a Deus Ex Machina, Deus Ex Machina. This is intervention. This isn't a twist, because for it to be a twist, it needs to kind of it needs to uproot what you already thought.
Yeah.
Whereas with this,
I don't think it does that. We still.
Well, the only respect in which it does do it is that you're supposed to believe that aliens abducted her.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I was right. It was a twist, because you're meant to think that the aliens are the bad guys, but the twist is the aliens are the good guys.
Yes.
I knew there was a twist somewhere. Okay.
So go on.
Well, I thought it was a twist initially, and thought this is a dumb twist.
Yeah.
I don't like this twist. Put that back. That's how I felt about the twist.
Yeah.
No, for me, a twist is that thing that you've been pursuing, you've been seeking, you're looking for and focused on, never existed in the way you thought it did. It unravels your beliefs before, and I don't think that us merely finding out where Maisie is through Deus Ex Machina is a twist.
Okay, I'm going to put a cap on that and say that we still have a lot of gas in the tank for twist endings, because we don't even know what they are yet. So I think that we're still living in the era of the twist. Everyone do the twist. So I've got some silly questions to finish off. So my first question is, okay, so the question is, why is the dog called Genghis? But really, my question is just like, hey, let's talk about Genghis.
It's such a good doggy actor.
Genghis was great.
Oh, very smiley, I thought.
He was great.
For the camera.
It was a collie. I love collies in films as well, because they're so intelligent that you can see them kind of looking at people going like, why are y'all being so weird right now?
Everyone's being so nice to me.
Let's go herd some sheep. Let's do something important, because this is strange, whatever's happening
I
here.
suppose the dog's supposed to be a marker of like a happy, adjusted family. So in a way, I think this family should have had a cat or something instead, like maybe gerbils. The dog was just, you know, a bit of a red herring that this family is okay.
I feel like
the family's
sometimes
not okay.
the dog existed mainly because it's a good doggy actor and therefore deserves work. But
He does deserve work.
I think really
Does he have to work?
who is he? Is the part where Billy comes back into the kitchen after everyone's disappeared, and then he looks to his left and sees Genghis and goes, "Oh, hi, Genghis." Genghis! I think that was just one of the only gags in the film, I guess. So I think maybe the dog exists.
Some of the shots of the dog
For
as
that
well were
prime
really
moment, I
strange. There's a face on shot that they do near the beginning of the movie where it's like the cameraman is like standing up fully erect and just like has a shot down, and the dog looks straight up into the camera, and it was just so weird.
Hold on a second. Can anyone remember if Genghis was in the house when Uncle Kenny did the bad thing?
I think Genghis is actually the alien.
In that sense, Genghis would surely react to Kenny and would be
Maybe they didn't
serve
have
as
Genghis.
another clue.
They may not have had Genghis yet.
Okay.
Because there was a year gap there, right?
Because collies are smart. Like I think that's a bit of a liability actually having a
Plot
collie
hole.
in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Plot
can
hole.
name like 150 toys
Get
or
a plot.
something.
We need to
Actually,
get
I
a
think it's over 1,000.
Plot hole sound cue.
Okay. Quick fire. Last question.
Do we know why Ray is such a dick? Do anybody? Oh, I already explained it with my queer reading. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is Alice Lowe maybe not a very good actor?
I think you can't help, but I want to believe that Alice Lowe is a good actor. I want to believe.
I want to believe.
I want to believe.
What are frogs?
That Alice Lowe is a good actor. It's just that we've only seen her in comedy movies or in
where she breaks the
comedic
fourth
roles.
wall. So it's kind of strange to see her firmly penned in by a film like this.
I think yeah,
I don't think
penned
it's
in
her
is the
fault.
word. I think it's like there wasn't much breadth there for because everyone else was playing everything so overly dramatic.
Right.
It almost felt like if I was Alice Lowe, if I saw people doing that, I couldn't help but sort of ham it up.
Also, like
you know
her
what I mean?
physicality, she has such a good presence on screen. I just don't think they did a lot with her.
I don't think. Yeah, maybe that's the difference. Okay, yeah, I think you've explained it. I love Prevenge. I love Alice Lowe in most things. In this movie, there was definitely that sense of like, why is she there? You know?
But why Alice Lowe? Yeah.
But I think I'm going to come down as well and say, Alice Lowe was coming up at like almost exactly the same time as Olivia Colman. And,
well, that's a good point.
Maybe she is not Olivia Colman, and I guess that's an unfair comparison and stuff, but like, no, I think
It still feels like early days though. That's the thing. It still feels like, Olivia Colman has a couple
Prevenge was amazing. We'll definitely have to cover Prevenge in this.
I also think Alice Lowe doesn't go for the same kind of roles as Olivia Colman. She's a different kind of quirky.
She should have been the alien.
She should have been or Genghis. She could have done that really well.
She's wearing a dog costume.
And then finally, why the fuck was the monkey from the Annabelle movies in this movie?
Well,
you asked me this and then you silenced me about the Twin Peaks references. The initial shot where we are welcome to the town frame is exactly the same as Welcome to Twin Peaks frame.
Right.
So a guy that's capable of this isn't going to chuck the Annabelle monkey in? Like, it's peppered with all of these other relics from horror films or shows. I don't know why.
I'm curious, what were the other ones you'd spotted?
So, also, we get a damn fine cup of coffee moment.
No.
We do.
When did we get that?
Let me just see.
Oh, no,
I
is
have a
it
note
when
about when that happens.
is it when the cops are investigating the house? First, I gotta get me a cup of coffee.
Yep.
Nice.
I need a damn strong coffee.
No, he uses the word damn in the same sense as coffee.
And
Don't
also
do that.
like the Stranger Things light set up, and it's the mum turning them on, and we already know she's communicated with something from beyond the grave, and then she's turning on Christmas lights.
Right.
But the monkey was a weird one because that didn't
It's
really
such a weird, ugly monkey.
get involved with the story in any way. Like
I thought it was a Toy Story 3 reference.
Was it in Toy Story 3?
Yeah, it was also in Toy Story 3. But
Maybe this
but
is
I mean,
just
no,
a movie
probably
to
Annabelle,
play
right?
like Where's Wally with. Maybe it's actually like a game for you to just like spot these details.
What are the Annabelle movies anyway? Is that The Conjuring? That's The Conjuring.
I think it's the same, as
Oh, is
like
it The Conjuring
Insidious
universe
yeah.
saga. But yeah,
I guess it was like a shorthand way for them to instill fear in us, like, oh, you know that monkey, he a bad monkey. Like but it's kind of like cheating, and it didn't work.
It actually really pulled me out of the film, because I was like,
it does stand out in that room for sure. It does
it's
really
an
stand
odd
out.
toy
Sort of like
for that girl to have,
very pastel-y colours.
a pastel, like ponies on the wall.
Yeah.
She's got a dollhouse, and also like a terrifying clapping chimpanzee. Like it didn't fit. It just didn't fit.
okay, cool. So I don't know. We've talked about this film for an hour now. Are you in any way better predisposed to it? I think I've burrowed a place in my heart for this movie now. Like, I think there is a lot to talk about in it, and if you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's sitting on around it's sort of in the high 60s, and I think that might be
deserved. I think
pretty fair, actually. I don't think it's a stinker. I think it's a really, really strong attempt of a possibly quite promising director whose worldview I maybe don't agree with, but it takes all sorts.
Make for interesting sci-fi movies and horror films down the line, I wonder.
I have to say that, if you told me a movie where aliens intervene in justice would be so highly unoriginal, I would be shocked. But I think that what's going to become clear is that I measure movies based upon the idea compared to the execution, and for an idea so bonkers to be executed in such a boring way, loses points for me.
Okay.
So I think it's not really a recommendable film.
Okay, two thumbs up, one thumbs down. So we'll be coming back next week with another movie. Thanks again, everybody that listens to this, if anybody ever does listen to this. And enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll take the chance to say goodbye.
Okay, see you later, guys.
All right, this has been SpookBox.